Welcome to Decker Tech. I'm Aaron Decker, and today we're looking at the final deck list for a Support Evelyn. This Evelyn is specifically supporting Cornelius, which we'll kind of touch on what that would change in other situations. But this is Madness 16 Evelyn that I've won with this comp before, and this Evelyn is all here to make sure that Cornelius has everything he needs for successful damage, and to also monopolize on the things that Cornelius does. So, specifically, Arcane Conduit, Bookworm, these are just consistency cards. I'm trying to get through my deck as fast as possible and set up for the team. Tome of Intellect and Scrolls of Intellect, those are the mainstay of any support mage, any battery mage specifically. The idea is Inspire is very powerful to get everyone through their deck. Scrolls of Intellect are the best energy generation in the game right now. And yeah, they're all beautiful things that a mage can do. Evelyn's unique in the fact that Arcane Conduit is a thing. When you spend energy, you draw cards. So you got this weird thing where you want lots of low-cost stuff so you can play a lot of cards because you're drawing a lot of cards, but you also need a little bit of energy to dig through your deck to get through all those cards. So there's no way to guarantee Arcane Conduit in the starting deck hand unless you had a really consistent lots of cantrips deck, which kind of defeats the purpose of Arcane Conduit when you have Exhaust, because if you can draw your entire deck on turn one, then without Arcane Conduit, then Arcane Conduit just makes you redraw cards a lot, which is honestly kind of what happens with this Evelyn build I've got right now. But the more consistent I can make the deck, the happier I am, because on turn one, specifically supporting Cornelius, I want to get Insulate on Cornelius, and I want to set Cornelius on fire. Combustions are late game, I don't want that right away. Ember Storm, I want to remove buffer stacks from my opponents. So if I didn't have this corrupt Ember Storm, I would have a blue Ember Storm, just to be removing the buffer stacks. And I want to have Enchant Weapon ready in case I need to, if I could just set it to the fire, you can't see them here, to fiery weapons, just so that I could set that on Evelyn herself, so that she applies more burn on hit. So Ember Storm would hit, apply 8 burn, and then also elemental weapons would apply burn again, or chill, or whatever you want to do. You can honestly just use elemental enchant weapons to add chill to all of Evelyn's attacks to slow the team down, to some speed manipulation. So Evelyn is, of course, very versatile here. Let's look at her equipment before we get too far along, because I did want to show... I never got around to replacing a ring. I'm on Madness 16. I don't always have the money and cash and funds to do all the things I want to do. But giving her some speed and just overall defenses is the goal for armor slot. You're not really looking for anything specific here. Speed is good just to get out ahead, get the Inspire to the team, and also maybe slow down the enemies. We'll talk about that a little bit. Fountain Pen, best card for any book mage or support mage. This says play a book, team draws 5 cards. You draw 1 right away, you draw 1 next turn, and all of your teammates are going to draw 1 on their turn. So, play a card, draw 5, very good. Endless Bag says, hey, you played too many cards, draw 3. As you can tell, Evelyn is just here to churn through her deck as fast as possible, make sure that I am buffing the team as much as I can on turn 1 specifically, and then consistently on later turns. Fountain Pen is consistently on later turns. Endless Bag is usually that I'm trying to dig through my deck on turn 1, sort of thing. Because Evelyn's deck is fairly slow on costs. The most expensive things here are the Scorching Ray and Tome of Intellect. Honestly, the Scorching Ray is kind of just here to dig with Arcane Conduit. It's also a really good way to dig through buffer stacks, which, again, Cornelius specifically, I need to, my checklist, or things I want to support beyond just Inspire and Energize, which is any battery mage or any support wants to do, is for Cornelius specifically, I need to put burn stacks on Cornelius. I need to make sure that none of the enemies have buffer, because Cornelius can't deal with buffer very well. And I need to monopolize on his burn, because usually what your support or battery does is they set up the team for success, and then they kind of help monopolize on whatever they're doing. Like in the case of Combustion, all the enemies are at max burn, so I'm going to convert that to damage. Or if you're doing a poison build, you'll do the Banes on a scout support, or, the vile gases, holy fires, all those things. So I want to vanish down to a consistent deck. That's going to include Scrolls of Intellect. In this case, that's also going to be Scorching Ray and Combustions, because I'm just here to monopolize on burn. So the Scorching Ray is the consistent buffer removal, and then the Ember Storm was the early on AoE buffer removal. So maybe I wouldn't have been running, if I'm not running the Scorching Ray, I'd be running a blue Ember Storm, or if I wasn't running this purple Ember Storm, I'd be running the yellow Ember Storm, the Vanish one. I want to clear out those stacks early on. Also, it gets rid of evasion stacks. Evelyn's really good at that, where she can remove buffer and evasion really quick because she can do a lot of cheap AoE, and she can use enchant weapons. I wish I could show you the cards, but on hit, apply chill, on hit, apply fire, that kind of stuff. So Evelyn's really good at being able to hold enchant weapons up on 2 people, and for when you do an Evelyn support, she's really good at anyone that has a very narrow range of attacks. Like Self-Burn Cornelius is only fire damage. If the monster is immune to burning, Cornelius can struggle. If they have high fire resist, he can struggle. If they're immune to burning, of course. So Enchant Weapons is Evelyn's way to help these very narrow damage types have some more options against different monsters. Let's go look at some other cards that we could have been playing that I can't afford or I didn't need in this setup. Shadow Binding. Shackle all monsters. Yes, very, very nice. This is the best speed manipulation that a mage has currently. Because right now, there's not anything. Single target slows. Shock Nova is actually pretty decent. 3 slow. I don't need that because I have a Magnus. He's doing shouts. But Shock Nova is a viable option. It is a little expensive. 3 cost for 3 charges is probably where you're going to be sitting if you're running that. But in my mind, like I said, the Shackle is much better. You did see in our starting deck, I think we had the Curse of Exhaustions. Those do overlap a little bit with Magnus, and in general, just the single target, too slow, not enough to do anything on the high difficulties. But it is something that you can kind of keep around. And really, like I said, the Evelyn, the battery mage is a support mage. It really depends on who you're supporting and what they need. Do they need you to hit the monsters? Do they need you to apply certain buffs or debuffs? But for the most part, just a generic speed manipulation and energy and inspire are a good way to go. And so Tome of Intellects, Scroll of Intellects are guaranteed going to be in your deck. Bookworms are just a filler card for yourself because they help you find the Scrolls of Intellect and the Tome of Intellect, which is really nice. Mana Gem, I'm keeping it because I'm also running Arcane Conduit. I guess we could look at her talents here. So if whoever you're supporting doesn't need to change their damage type, Elemental Proliferation is an option, but it's only a 1-turn sort of thing. But it can definitely be there to help AoE slow the entire enemy team by doing a couple Ember Storms with Elemental Proliferation up, and suddenly you have anywhere from 8 to 16 chill stacks, or if you have any plus chill stacks in your items, you can suddenly slow the entire enemy team down a lot. So this Elemental Proliferation can be a pseudo shackle or speed manipulation. Elemental Amplifier, just because I didn't need anything in this one. Versatile. If she's going to any sort of damage, or you're relying for her on damage, the Powerful is really nice. And the Lightning Spell Dispel, if you're casting any lightning spells, dispelling yourself is always nice to help your healer out. So neither of these are really needed for the support version of her. It's just whatever is filling your current fancy. I would say Arcane Conduit is probably the go-to here, just because you want to get through your deck as fast as possible, and this does that. But Spell Echo definitely has its use cases. If I was playing a DPS that was relying on a big AoE spell like a Radiant Assault or something like that, then maybe Radiant Assault's bad. It's an example, but I think you get the idea. Big, powerful booms. Spell Echo doesn't have to be used on Evelyn. It does say hero. You can put it on anyone. It's very nice. It does say spell, though, so I can't use it for Otis for Otis's Sanctuaries. So you got to be careful with this one. Don't get caught up. It is hero, but it is spell. So it does have to be a spell. And then I don't remember what I did on this run. I think I went Elemental Weaver just because I didn't want to reduce her HP and she wasn't doing... No, I must have done Glass Cannon because in this case, she's running Combustions. So Glass Cannon's really good if you're at all monopolizing on what your team's doing for damage-wise. Yeah, I think that covered everything. This is just an energy refund, so if you find yourself needing more energy, that's the way to go. It also works fine with Arcane Conduit because I'm not reducing the cost of the cards. I'm just getting a rebate for it, so that works well with these kind of cards that are worded for every energy you use. But if you're doing any sort of damage, Glass Cannon is a big deal. It does, remember, it stacks with Powerful in an additive way, so this plus full stacks of Powerful is 160 or 110% increase, so 210 total damage, which double damage, kind of a big deal. And yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I will catch you on the flip side. Peace.